Hello my friends, this is Johan, back again with another UFO story from the high north to you. This one has the title Low-Flying UFO over Drottningholm Castle. Nature of sighting: a cylinder-shaped object lighted in both ends. Yes, you heard it. Once again we have one of these sightings of a cylindrical shaped object. And one of the common things about this cylindrical UFO is that it has a light in both ends. So, let's start the story. It was about 9 p.m. I was watching some airplanes passing on high altitude. I had not much else to do. Suddenly I spotted a craft on considerable lower altitude. A cylindrical shaped object lighted in both ends. Absolutely no airplane. Per Torell says resolute. Wednesday the 15th of September 1982 was a calm and starlight evening. Draftee Per Torell from T1 in Linköping was on main guard at Drottningholm Castle, now residence for the royal family. Per Torell had, together with 3 colleagues, started his guarding duty at 8 p.m. The main guard is posted on several locations all around the castle to get the most efficient guarding as possible. For Torell, this meant that he was responsible for post number 1, that was located at the castle gate. After about 1 hour of guarding, I spotted a strange thing approaching on low altitude from southwest. It was a large cylinder-shaped object that was lighted in both ends. In the middle it was a green twinkling light, and underneath one could see a red light. Per Torell tells UFO Sverige Aktuelt. I had already been watching a couple of airplanes passing on a rather high altitude, but this was definitely no airplane, Torell says positively. For one thing, it was much larger and traveled without making any sound. The lighting was also different. In the front and the rear a strange white light shone. It made the enlightened surface on this craft glimmer matte. I saw the craft for about 20 seconds before it disappeared over the castle on a path towards the northwest, as far as I could judge. At least one could say that it looked odd, and I alerted the supervisor, but the craft was gone before he arrived. Per Torell told about his sighting, made a drawing of the object, and a report was written about the incident. Second Lieutenant Morgan Dalinovic at T1, who according to information was supervisor at that time, confirms this. What then happened to the report ain't so easy to tell. Colonel Per Lennemann at T1, who is Per Torell's superior, claims that it was sent to the commandant office at Stockholm Castle. After that, the destiny of the report is unknown according to the people involved. UFO Sverige Aktuelt can, in spite of this, make clear for the continuing report circulation. The report on Per Torell's much paid attention to and already written about sighting was received by Lieutenant Colonel Ola Eriksson at the Garnison Department at Stockholm Castle. This is not to be mistaken for Drottningholm Castle. As common known, there are now 2 castles in Stockholm that claims to be royal residence. On the direct question, Ola Eriksson replied that he in his turn had made a report of a light and sound phenomenon. One prefers to call it that way within the Swedish national defense. I have sent the report to the East Military District staff in Stringsnäs. But personally, I believe it was an airplane that was sighted, Lieutenant Colonel Eriksson says. I don't believe in UFOs, he cheerfully adds. It could be confirmed that the report has arrived at the military district staff in Strengsnes, but further on, the security services at this military district staff judges main guard Torell's sighting as probably a low-flying airplane, something that Per Torell already had been expecting. That is the way they go on, telling I saw an airplane. There was nothing else to expect, but it's the first time I've seen an airplane on low altitude, soundless and without wings, Per says, finding it frustrating not to be trusted. But that seems to be a part of being a witness to a UFO. UFO or light and sound phenomenon, whatever you prefer, over Drottningholm Castle will end up in the file cupboard at the FOIA in Stockholm. This closes the circle and the Swedish National Defense supported investigation is closed. Dear readers, it's this way. Our military defense finds no threat against the safety of our country in connection with such of a sighting. So there is no interest from our military protectors. UFOs are nothing that our national defense occupies their minds with. Inside the royal residence, everyday routine was going on that evening. The royal couple was at home in their private section of the residence. Everything went according to routine. The National Museum Chamber Orchestra was making a recording in this enriched part of the castle. As the recent castle attendant Göran Trygg was on the site this evening, leading a helping hand and supervising the activity. It was about 8:45 p.m. and I was in the vestibule on second floor, Göran Trygg tells and continues. The vestibule is located towards the west frontage of the castle where post number 1 is located. Suddenly, and without any reason, the light begins to fade and dies, just like in a cinema. I've never experienced anything similar. At a later checkup, it was found that several main fuses, 16 to 20 ampere, had been broken. This without any known overload of the system. Strange things do happen in old castles, Göran Trygg says, but he means that this is real puzzling. The pattern could of course be recognized. Unexplained influences on electric circuits in relation to UFO sightings. The relation between Per Torell's sighting and Göran Trygg's story about the mysterious incident inside the castle is too obvious to be pure chance. We could once again establish the fact that an unknown, soundless craft has appeared in our air territory, this time over Drottningholm Castle. But never mind, this soundless aircraft flying on low altitude, without wings and affecting lighting and causing fuses to break, or military speakers say, it was and will be probably an airplane. And that's the final. Yeah. I think it's a great story. The person who was on guard outside the castle witnessed a huge cigar-shaped object. In and around the same time, the lights inside the castle started to dim down, and was later discovered that several fuses had gone. Of course, it has to be a connection. I have often read about UFO and electricity. Those two things seems to have something in common. UFOs over and over again in reports are affecting electrical equipment, electricity in cars, electricity in houses, streetlights. A lot of sightings of objects of unknown origin has been near and around power plants or power lines. Like I often say, L, electricity. L, it's from above. Interesting. Okay, let's go on to the next story. And this story is from Finland. It's a peculiar sighting during a military operation. And it's actually, the nature of sighting is about 100 airplanes, also airplanes in quotes, in regular formations. Our regiment, GR56, had retired to evasive stations about south of Loimola. The 1st Battalion was in the woods, guarding the flank. A day or two earlier, we had heard on the radio that the Finnish government had changed, so we understood it was time to start a truce and negotiations for peace. We did not have much combat, because the Soviet Union was probably moving its forces to the Baltic front, where the battles were still quite hard. The day was warm and sunny. There were only a few thin clouds high in the sky. We were 5 to 7 men outside doing something. I seemed to recall we were waiting for food while the rest were still resting in the tents. Then I noticed a flying formation coming from above the forest at a height of about 25 degrees. First there were 3 planes, then 7, and always 7 after that in one line. They were strange in shape and resembled none of the airplanes we were familiar with. They were visible against the blue of the sky in light graphite color. Their silhouettes were not altogether clear, and especially in front there was something vague which was undefinable. It was like a picture with a poor contrast. We started counting their number, and then we noticed there was no sound emanating from them. It was peculiar silent. Perhaps a little vibration was felt in the faces. We were very surprised indeed. We did not even attempt to take cover, because they had no signs on them. Their height was about 1,500 meters, and their speed a little below that of a slow reconnaissance plane. And they were moving from southwest to northeast. And here we can see a drawing of the sighting. Pretty interesting, pretty crazy. We changed our observation point about 60 meters in order to see further over the marsh with small trees. When the squadron would cross the enemy lines, would there flak behind, and would there be sounds of bumps? We heard absolutely nothing. When the first planes were about 20 degrees above the horizon, they made a 90-degree turn straight down towards the ground, while their speed remained the same. All the lines made a turn in the same point as the first one. While turning, they shone like glass in the sun. When they passed us from front left, we saw them from the shade. Then they turned down. We saw them from the sunny side. We did not see them rise again. I counted 98 of them, but one of us counted 112. It was difficult to make precise calculations. Surprised as we were, and tried to make other observations at the same time, the formation remained regular all the time, like a chessboard. In the 10 to 50 meters that we saw them, there was not a single change. We could not make out the purpose and origin of this operation. If there were so many planes in Finland, they should be on the isthmus, where they were badly needed, and the Russians needed their planes between the Baltic and the Black Sea. These flying things did not even have the characteristics of airplanes. There were no proper wings, nothing like steering controls, no engines and no cockpits in front. We could not believe it, and so we did not talk about it very much, let alone tell other people about it. They will not have believed us. But now that we know UFOs have been sighted all over the world, this strange incident can be told. Wow. I like these kinds of sightings, where several people, a lot of people see it at once. It's what I consider to be a reliable sighting, and it suits the characteristics of a war sighting, so UFO sighting during the war. We have all heard about Foo Fighters, right? So, was this Foo Fighters? Who knows? No markings and a diffuse obscuring in front of these UFO objects. And no sound, always no sound. Wow. Pretty crazy. Next time, I want to talk about one of the first reports from the UFO hotspot of Norway. And it's a famous place called Hessdalen. One of the first reports of this phenomena was recorded December 1981. And this is still an ongoing situation. The sightings have decreased significantly, but it is a very active place. There are several facilities up there that are doing research on a day-to-day basis. They have installed cameras, radar and other sensory equipment. Stay tuned for the next story. It will be a treat. I promise you that. Have a nice day.